Hellboy. Hey everybody, this is Phil and Brandon from Zaid Comics, the creators of Magic Cop, a graphic novel we're launching on Indiegogo in August, and the two best-looking brothers in all of comics. And today we're doing a review of the new Hellboy movie that just came out by Lionsgate, and yeah, we'll get right into it. The movie, how'd you feel about the movie start?
Was the other ones by Lionsgate too?
Yeah, I think so.
So they decided they were going to make a reboot.
Yeah.
Even though everybody loved Ron Perlman.
Right. I mean, he's old though.
Yeah, I know.
He's like not jacked.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, all right. So I liked the movie.
Yeah.
Seeing the previews for it, there was a lot of the "You're Not Ron" memes going around. You remember those?
Yeah.
from Anchorman or whatever, right? And I mean, that's how I felt at first. It was like, man, Ron Perlman had the voice. He has the face. Like, he's just got the face already.
This guy's voice wasn't not Ron Perlman, though. It was like...
Right.
It's like if you squint your eyes, but your ears...
So,
kind of
you squint your ears.
You squint your ears.
Well, yeah, that's the nice thing about having another set of movies that you could work off of as a reference. You could be like, wow, this guy worked really well. We could gravel up my own voice, and then, it works. The thing I liked, you know what? Now, Hellboy has goat feet. Do you have goat feet?
No, he was wearing boots also.
Okay, yeah, I didn't look for that in the movie, but when you were doing your statue review, Phil has a really nice statue review of the Sideshow Hellboy statue. Yeah. He has goat feet, and I thought, did he have goat feet in the movie? And I guess he didn't.
No, and he didn't in the old movies either.
Right.
There's a kind of retcon thing they do in the comics in Hellboy, like 1950 whatever comic, where he used to wear boots when he was on like these military missions and stuff like that, and then in one issue they get like ripped and you like see his feet, and I don't know if he's like self-conscious about it or whatever, and then he's just he just doesn't wear shoes anymore.
So then he's just goat feet. I've not read the comics.
Right.
I just look at stuff for the art.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going in
so you could say that in the movie, he's still got goat feet, but he's wearing boots like he did in that one issue of the comics.
Yeah, but doesn't he have like dog leg goat feet?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
So that would be really hard to do in boots, but I guess you could do it.
Be uncomfortable, I'm sure. Yeah.
Right. But, that cockroach guy squeezed into that Edgar suit in Men in Black.
Yeah, that's
true.
So
anything is possible, I guess, right?
That's true. One thing I noticed right off the bat in the movie, there's an opening scene where Professor Broom is narrating, and he's like swearing up a storm, which I was like, that's weird. And there's a lot of cursing in the movie. There's R-rated, a lot of gore and stuff like that. I didn't see from reading from the comics.
That's his dad?
Yeah, the professor being the guy that's dropping F-bombs all the time, but he's telling like the backstory of the Blood Queen, and he's just narrating to the audience, not to anybody, and he's just like swearing, which I thought was weird.
That's Ian McShane, right?
Yeah.
Ian McShane, does he look more like Hellboy's guy? So the other guy looked more like him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought
he's
too.
He's old.
But I love Ian McShane. He's got such a cool voice. Every movie he's in, America. I have not seen American Gods, but like freaking John Wick, right? John Wick.
Yeah, I was excited when he got cast in Hellboy. So I'm like, oh, that's great.
He's like
just gonna add more to
He's
it.
got like that serious edge to him, but also it's like, he's got like that kind of
smart
weird,
ass
goofiness to him, which worked really, really well in there because this Hellboy is very he's a little immature.
Yeah.
Where like the other Hellboy, like Ron Perlman's Hellboy was a little more serious, I felt like.
Yeah, I think he was immature also, but I think Ron Perlman's Hellboy was more professional. Yeah. Like, okay, we got to do this stuff, and I'm going to do it by the book, kind of, more. and this Hellboy was more loose,
Right.
more comical.
Is that more like the comic, would you say?
I would say Hellboy in the comics, the guy almost never talks, and he's just a tool, and like everybody always describes him as the working man superhero. Like he's a plumber. Like, he goes in, he's seen it before, he's not surprised, and he's gonna beat some people up, punch them in the face with his big stone hand, and then he's gonna go back and then do it again. So that's his personality in the
Are we doing
comics.
spoilers? I mean, you can't. If you want a real review, you have to do
Alright, we
spoilers,
can spoil
right? I mean, like
sure.
we gotta have some spoilers. All right, so we're gonna do spoilers from now. I know one part that you had problems with was that, and I thought about this too. There wasn't enough use of his hand of doom,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's right
Like he
handed
just
doom.
kind of had it, and then it was
Yeah,
just
they make reference to it in the when he goes to the Osiris Club, but there's not even like close-up shots of him punching people in the face or
right,
using it a
right.
lot. He's like punches elevator shaft
He
buttons.
says it. Somebody's like, "What is that for?" And he's like, "Smashing stuff,"
Yeah,
right?
yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was in the
Um,
trailer, but
yeah, but other than that, it was kind of like, wow, that's not even like that big of a
yeah,
deal.
in the old movie, the original movies, like that's the key to unlock the door
Right.
to raise the evil
Well,
dragon
they
gods,
don't
right?
do that in here.
No, yeah, that's another gripe with the movie. I don't think it conveys the use of Hellboy like being this Armageddon tool to bring about the ends of the world, because they say in the movie that he has to get Excalibur to unlock him being I forget what's his name,
Some
Rama.
weirdo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
recently I've been forgetting his actual name, Anunun Rama. When he grows his horns and has the flaming crown. In this movie, he gets that by getting the sword, and then in the comics and in the other movie, like he has to be conscious of his name, and he says his name, and then he becomes this demon
He grew what,
guy.
like 6 feet tall? He was
Did
huge when
he
he
get
got the
bigger? Yeah,
sword.
I guess so.
Um, okay, so actual movie review here. The movie is awesome. I enjoyed it a lot. I've been having recently problems with movies, like because I've not been entertained by movies recently. Like the last, what did we go see? We saw Shazam, right?
That was
Shazam was
amazing.
super entertaining. And like, yeah, there's problems with every movie, but like when a movie's taking itself too seriously, it's not entertaining to me anymore. And lately, these kind of medium budget films have been
Yeah,
doing so much of a better job at being entertaining than these massive, huge budget films because they have to, play it a little bit.
yeah.
And like the 90s didn't have the best movies in the world. They didn't do the best. They weren't the best made, but they were always entertaining. And I remember that so well, and like I feel like now that's coming back, and that's what's really cool. One part about Hellboy, specifically the 2019 version, I think they blew their entire CG budget on that pig guy
Yeah.
because there are some parts of the movie where the CG is pretty bad. Uh,
But the practical effects are really good.
yeah,
And
practical
what
effects are good.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's like Gorach or whatever.
Oh,
The pig guy.
yeah,
He's like a mixture of practical and when he becomes huge, I could only imagine it had to be CGI,
he looks
unless they're just
great.
slapping 9,000 pounds of clay to sculpt this guy's body.
The only problem with the CG were those like organic things that come out of the woman's mouth.
Yeah, those like astral
And then there
projections.
was one part where Hellboy's flying through the air, and it was like, man, they could have done better if they would have had like the painted wall behind him and just
Yeah.
filmed him up close, because that was. And they do really bad with blurring the background too much and stuff.
The
But
leopard guy was kind of CG. I mean, he was all CG, but when he turned into the leopard,
was he a leopard or is he a jaguar? See, I say jaguar because he's
probably.
from Belize, right? Is where he gets bitten,
Did
and
they say
Belize
that?
is
Alright.
Central America. So you say jaguar because it's like Aztecian or Mayan. They
Yeah.
usually do the jaguar stuff. um, so
What was your question?
no. I had a really good point or something that was cool. What the hell was it?
Lobster Johnson.
Yeah,
Best
we'll
part
talk
of the
about this for a second
movie.
because my thing is.
You think of that, but Lobster Johnson's in like the first 20 minutes of the movie, and it's awesome. He has like one of the best fight scenes in there. He's so
It's so
campy.
good.
The Nazis in that area when they're back in the birth of Hellboy, uh, they're really cool. And just Lobster Johnson by Thomas
Thomas
Hayden
Hayden
Church.
Church.
Yeah.
It's Thomas Hayden Church from, you remember George of the Jungle? Like
Yeah, the
the
bad guy.
joke, Thomas Hayden Church is exactly
Yeah,
what
he's playing that character.
Lobster Johnson, and he's so good.
They just told him, "Hey, we're making a George of the Jungle sequel. Just play your character, and you gotta wear this weird outfit though." But yeah, they did reshoots, and they're like, "Oh, Lobster Johnson's gonna be in the reshoots," and they announced him, Thomas Hayden Church playing. I'm like, that's awesome. There's an awesome post-credit scene with him, and I wish he was more part of the story because in the Conqueror Worm, the comic book story, he helps Hellboy fight and kill the Conqueror Worm, and then after that, they like come out of this like big tomb mountainside, and Hellboy's all tired. And he's like, "Man, that's crazy. I'd never thought I'd, meet you." And then he turns around, and I don't know, like lightning strikes or whatever, and it's the skeleton of Lobster Johnson. So he had been fighting alongside his ghost the whole time, and that was just such a cool part of that story. So
Questions for another time about that, I guess.
Yeah.
So the fight scenes or the action sequences are so cool. The way that they're shot cinematically is straight out of the comic book. There's angles in these fight scenes that are like, why did you do this? And if you look at them, you could only imagine that they were drawn like this in the comic book.
Yeah.
Like there's a part, I don't remember who it was, but the person standing weird at an action angle that like no human would stand like this. And it's because they must have taken it straight off the page. Because that's how you draw comic books. You draw like these really exaggerated poses. And I was like, man, that's super cool. And I don't know if you noticed this in, there's a scene where he's fighting these giants, right? And, well, they had the giant problem.
Yeah.
The giant problem.
Which was giants.
He's fighting these giants, and the pacing of the scene is almost in like that Shakespearean, like,
Dynamic pentameter.
yeah, it's like fast and then it slows, and then it's fast and then it slows, and
This
that looked
cool music.
really
Music
cool.
goes wrong with it. Yeah, it was cool because it was like different. It was like how you're drawing like those panels in Magic Cop where you want the action scene to be like a montage,
Right.
where you're not seeing the in-between seconds of him going to another spot on the giant. You're just like the camera's moving and then he's there.
Right.
And it's when I was watching that, I'm like, oh, it's like a montage.
So good. Like there's a part where he like gets hit or something, and then he's running toward the camera, and like it's just so weird. It looks like they're dropping frames, but they do it on purpose, obviously, and it looks so cool because it looks like it's straight out of the comic book.
And there's another scene where I was waiting for this to happen because in any comic book story or cartoon, it's super prevalent in the comics, or in the Hellboy comics specifically, where he's always falling through a floor. And this is like, you can't have a Hellboy story without him being in some old temple and something drops down on him and he starts falling through this floor of just blackness. And then that literally happened. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's going to happen. And it happened when he falls through the floor and finds that King Arthur is there.
Yeah, like in the cathedral.
And they had that upshot where he's falling. He's like, oh crap, and that was perfect. They obviously took that from the comics. So
Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Beautiful, is always super hot. She did a great job.
Yeah, and like the things they took from Mignola's story that I love, that I got really excited about within the first 5 minutes of the movie, when Ian McShane's telling the backstory of the Blood Witch, where they cut her up and put her in boxes and took that to different parts of Britain. I always loved that from the Fury and Wild Hunt stories in Hellboy, and I'm glad that they put that in there because that's really badass. They had the little different spin on it where they're gathering up the pieces, and she's alive and with missing limbs, which is really grotesque. but that lent to the horror aspect of the character. Which was
Right,
really
like she
cool.
was alive the whole time. That was
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That's
through all
super
the
cool.
boxes and stuff like that. I wish that they would have taken some of the imagery from the comics where she's just like bathed in blood when she, you know, becomes one with herself again, where she like stands up and she's just drenched in blood. That would have looked awesome. I'm surprised they didn't capitalize on that because visually that would have been stunning. But yeah, she was a really cool character. The one last thing I want to say is going into the movie, I thought Hellboy was going to die because the main storylines they take the story from in the comics is the Wild Hunt and Fury. And at the end of Fury, Hellboy dies, and that leads into Hellboy in Hell. And I think
Yeah,
that the ending to that comic is so cool because the Blood Queen turns into this big dragon. Hellboy fights it, is punching in the face, vanquishes the dragon, and Alice is running up the stairs, and she calls out his name, and he turns around, and there's like this pale Blood Queen ghost, and she reaches into his chest and pulls his heart out, and then he just like Thanos disintegrates, and it's so cool.
right. And you could imagine the trailers and the promotion for a second movie where Hellboy's like in hell or
That
whatever.
would have been
Would have
awesome.
been awesome.
Yeah.
And that would have been cool. It did. There was a part at the end where it's like, man, Hellboy could die here, and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, of course they're gonna not kill Hellboy because
Dude,
why
if they
would
would have
do
killed Hellboy, that would have been awesome. Because
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
oh, what's going on now? And then next year they start promoting Hellboy in Hell.
that? Right. I mean,
Characters are good, the designs are good. They held true to a lot of the original creations of the Hellboy universe. And introducing all these characters is super
except
fantastic.
for Alice.
Yeah, Alice was whatever.
But yeah, I would go see it again. You know, I'd go to the theater and see
Yeah.
it again. But yeah, I mean, sometimes there's movies just like, man, I don't want to ever watch this again in my entire life. And
Yeah,
that's
there's
this
a
is
lot
not
of
one
movies now
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, so if you guys like the video, hit that like button below and subscribe. Hit the notifications to know when we're putting out new videos like this one. And head on over to zaidcomics.com, sign up for our mailing list so you can check out our graphic novel Magic Cop and get a sneak peek at a free issue we're putting out online next month. And thanks for watching.
Good news, everybody. Zaid Comics has its own newsletter, and if you subscribe to it, you'll be notified exactly when Magic Cop goes live on Indiegogo for our graphic novel crowdfunding campaign. Now, if you back the campaign and are part of the newsletter, you'll get some exclusive content that's not available for the other backers. In addition to this, we're putting out a pilot issue called Magic Cop Karaoke Express. Now, it's a 12-page ashcan that's coming out on Free Comic Book Day, but if you're part of the newsletter, then you'll be able to read it a day early. Now, look for the link down in the description below